time for yet another update. I think this is like number 4 for the day, but I have the time to make them. You obviously have the time to watch them, and if you don't watch this video. You don't have the time. Anyway, it's the 18th of October, 2017. Welcome, and I was thinking earlier today, as the price action was showing this pattern in here, it's probably going to roll over. I was saying to myself, it's showing that pattern after this level of resistance was played through. This here certainly never got going. It broke this level of support matching the previous low. This is the type of by the book pattern that is so perfect. So when you're looking for the situations to come up, you're looking for the ideal ones, and it was ideal in here to bet it would go lower. But then you got to say to yourself, is it a good bet? Now, technically speaking, had you done so and you got back out somewhere at a nice small profit area, it would work out. And for myself, I would say to myself, where would I be looking to get back in? And I'd be thinking 5,000. So would I have been coming back in here? The answer is no. And there's a lot of traders maybe doing the same thing, and a lot of this move in here could be a short covering, or people realizing it wasn't a great bet to get out of Bitcoin here, and they're getting out at the profit. And this is one reason why I'm not a big fan of stop losses. For if you have a stop loss in here, because you realized if it broke down below, say, 52.15, it was going to go lower. Well, it did, and now your stop loss doesn't look too good at this stage right now. And when I've had just my early stages, most of which in play money, when I was seeing this happen over and over for me, I'm thinking, why am I even doing them? So I'm just not a fan of them. Everyone, the strategy you work within yourself that fits you is what you should do. And a lot of the ideas, make a lot of what I say, my trading ideas, your own. Everyone will talk about different patterns like this. And I like this 5-minute time frame. That's the reason why I'm doing this video. But one of the things I was saying earlier, I don't like betting Bitcoin to go lower to try to get back cheaper, because it just hasn't netted me the results that I would be looking to get. And of course, it would be a loss in here. Now, I've talked a lot about the reversal strategy. You're down in here. What's step 1 for the reversal? Band flatten out. Here's that first step. Stage 2, establish resistance. Stage 3, come back to the band. And stage 4, break it. Now, in this case, if you were to go long somewhere at around 52.65, 52.75, then obviously it's working out. You're well ahead of the game now, and there's been plenty of time to profit take if you have not yet already. But let's get real in these situations. When you're playing this type of game, trying to time the key breaks of support and resistance, you got to be fast. It's a fast game. It really, really is. And we can see on each of the breaks, on a break of this one, it was just a small leg higher at first, but there was the big move that occurred. So there's the leg higher. There's the consolidation, thus establishing hit here, hit here, hit here. It's right around that 54.35 handle, a little north of that number, 54.40-ish something. Or 54.38, whatever. But when it broke that, it's now had at least one small and two small legs higher. So it's continued the bull market trend, which makes it's a lot easier, of course, to play within the trend of the path of least resistance, because the path of least resistance is higher, and it didn't work too well to sell short at this stage. Now, of course, selling short in any of these earlier times created lots of time to establish a winning play regardless of where you sold if it was back in here. That's long. I usually say shorten the time frame out, but I'm on the 5 minute. I'm probably going to go to like a 30 or 60 minutes. So, and the 2 hours got a nice looking chart too. So let's bring in something a little longer. And we'll use the 60 minute. I don't know how many times I've talked about this within the Bitcoin chart, maybe about 5, 6, or 7. That's going to be one more time added. Failed move, fast move to the downside. This works when you break a key level of support. You have a significant move lower, or what you would classify as at least one leg, and usually just one leg. Okay, there's one leg lower. Quickly thereafter, it rebounds to go back to a congestion area, usually within the 18 average. And then usually thereafter, it breaks above the 18 average of highs to its previous congestion area. That's doing exactly by the book as I would write it, as it's doing it. Okay. This could often lead to indications that this thing can have some wild moves. It makes it very difficult to determine if it even starts, or if it continues any type of continuous upward momentum, very similar to the pattern shown in here. If this happens, only from this stage at 55.50, it's only 250 up to 58. And 250 at this stage is under 5%. And if a move of that structure were to occur, I would be in an I don't know situation. If I was to have to play the game, and I want to talk about a game in this video when I'm done this. But if I was to play a game where I was forced to make some sort of trade, and the game I'm talking about you'd be forced to, I would probably bet it would go lower. I probably would. But I would say that as in bullishly, it wouldn't surprise me if it comes down and supports somewhere between here before it would eventually break. One of my school of thoughts is with key areas. When you leave a key area and you have a significant move in the opposite direction and you come back to it, you could expect that to be an area where the market's going to stop moving to that direction. So it's had a significant move from this key area now. So therefore, any move to this point should stop that direction. If it doesn't, yeah. I've talked about how when it's ready, that's going to rip through the 6,000s, and that's what I would expect it to do if I do see the scenario. Now, within the failed move, fast move scenario, this is a 60-minute chart. It could very easily, to keep this pattern up, having its assortment of green and red candles in an upward trend, make it to this level in, say, about 40 periods, 35, 40 periods. That would be about a day and a half, closer to 2 days, taking us to Friday. So therefore, if the market's holding the 54 and change level, 54.10, 54.20ish, really this little resistance here, so above this number, if it can hold that, especially through the night and into the morning, and like again, just stay trading within the 55, 56, 57 ballpark, I will be thinking there's a good chance very soon thereafter it's going to break. And I also think too that if there is a fast move to this point, it wouldn't surprise me if any pullback could be similar to this, where you might have it occur sharp, maybe within like 40 minutes, and then 3 to 4 hours to get back. that wouldn't surprise me as well. Just different things in which I am thinking about. Now let's move this to the daily. Remember when Bitcoin earlier today was down a bunch of percentile points? It's down 40 bucks, 0.72% right now at 55.56 with 47 minutes to go to the rest of the day. At this time, it's 7:23 p.m. Eastern time. 8 o'clock is when UTC switches over to 0. Okay. So the failed move fast moves from the past. This was one from before, and how you do? And then this happened again in here, and how do you do again? It's got a pretty decent track record, to say the least. And I am really enthusiastic to see that the price action, albeit not quite at this level, close to it, has made a run towards this 18 average. And the fact that it didn't go down to this level, when markets often usually not only least go to this level, but sometimes even in the deeper areas, which is why I would say 45-ish, even 44 to the 5,000 handle. But if it does 5,100 instead of that, well, that tells me that sellers obviously were forced to stop selling, but because of the fact that the buyers would just run in a little earlier than they normally would. Just a possibility. But I do see this as a very strong indication, especially like I stated, if it can hold in the 54-55 mark for the next couple of days. It looks pretty good right now. And I'm going to talk about just a fun little game that would be a cool idea that I've had, very similar to a poker tournament, where an amount of people would play, hopefully larger numbers, like several hundred or thousands, and you'd have an allotment of time, maybe a decent amount, like a week or a day. Maybe you want to play quick over an hour or even a 30-minute or a 4-hour time frame. Everyone would get the same allotment of chips like in poker. You'd either use dollars or Bitcoins. And then you would have the crypto markets as they are, all the ones like the LITECOIN and the Ethereum, the Bitcoin, of course, with the US dollar, and all like dozens and dozens of other ones as well. And even having like a LITECOIN cross with other ones, an Ethereum cross, a Bitcoin cross, and what you would do in the game is you'd be buying and selling, and you'd have your starting bankroll, which is whatever it would be. Say everyone would be trading with the US dollar as an example. And you would start with, say, $10,000 or whatever. It doesn't matter what you start with because it's everyone starts with the same, whether you start with $100, $10,000, or $1 million. And you buy and sell, and after the time is done, whoever has the highest bankroll gets first place, and first place payout. When oftentimes, depending on the amount of people are in it, you'd give the amount of 20 to 50% of the prize pool the first place. Of course, if there's only like 100 people playing, that's where you give 50%. And if there's thousands of people, you give about 20%. And if there's a few hundred people, maybe about 25 or 33%. And then you have second place, third place, fourth place payouts. Pay about 10 to 20% of the field. That would be a fun little game. And then if you get more creative, you could maybe make your own little cryptocurrency coin and then use that as like the betting mechanism, sort of like NLC2, which is actually having a pretty good day today. And then you would, man, that's a good idea. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to a LITECOIN chart as well as KMD KOMODO. And we're seeing within the daily time frame, and I've talked about this major support level, but it's also had a major correctionary phase within the 18 average. In turn, that makes the situation on the either or stronger. Situation in here. This thing could have a decent downturn if you see price action here. If you talk about stops, it's risky, but it could go down much quicker. And yeah, I would probably be a seller there. But stage one for this is band flattening out. That's already happened. But even though it's declining a bit, as long as it holds this most recent support, that's good enough for me. It's got, I mean, I need to establish resistance higher than this. So roughly around somewhere around here would be good. And if I see this thing correct nicely, then it would look good. Of course, the risk of waiting for the strategy is that it just keeps going higher. And case in point here. Okay, now what I've done with my gift wallets in the more information box, so normally I just have the Bitcoin one in there, and I really don't advertise it because if you don't really have the bankroll to send, I would rather it not be. Meaning, if you're playing with a $500, $1,000, any type of smaller bankroll size, and I'm helping you out, I would rather you use your funds to try to increase your bankroll much, much higher. Now, if I have helped you out, and I will be very appreciative of any thank you gifts, but I realize, especially with the price declines, that the Bitcoin transfer rates are very, very expensive. Even at 30,000 Satoshi, it could get quite costly. As a trader, I am forced to transfer Bitcoin several times within myself, several times a month. And I have no choice but to eat up the cost. There is usually no other way around that. But within Litecoin, they do have cheaper fees and faster transactions. And these are the fundamentals that I like just for wanting to hold the Litecoin. And so many other coins I like, but I think can have the potential to go lower. And if that's the case, even though I think price action goes in here, I'd want to be a buyer. Litecoin is, I think, a much better coin for the actual usage for that of money. And KOMODO I'm now going to put up, and I've added that one in the Bitcoin wallet as one of a really, really low transfer fee. 0.002 works out to somewhere close to about a third of a penny. So it's very cheap to transfer, which really did help me within this coin, because I'm going to explain how I did really well with this coin. I had just a regular sized, amount before this occurred. And then the rally started. So I had a few sell orders come in, not many, but a few. But then I realized when the price was, I can't remember exactly which day, but I'm thinking somewhere in here, that on a smaller exchange, there were people willing to buy this thing when the larger site was offering cheaper prices. We'll say 40,000 at the time. Yet there were other people asking to buy at like 50,000 and 60,000. It got up to well over 100,000 even. And it was a very simple idea. Okay, if that's the case, then I guess I will transfer coins to a place in which will thus take the better price for me to sell. If you want to buy at a higher price, here you go. And then you buy back. Now here's a situation here, and I don't know what to do in this spot. Let's assume that on normal exchange, the price action is 33 and change. And you are able on a different one to sell at, say, 42,500. And let's just assume that you normally have say 2 units on the play right now. That's what you own, and that's what you can basically sell them right now. You have 2 units. but he wants to buy, say, 100 units. What do? You have enough, we'll say, to buy 98 more here. You have enough to buy 98. What you could do is buy 98 with the other two and then transfer from point A to point B. It's always good to know what you expect within the transfers. I have seen transfers in some coins take phenomenally a long time to take. KOMODO is standard. You would expect a transfer to about 20 to 30 minutes. But that's the whole point, a 20 to 30 minute transfer. So this is your risk reward on such a beautiful play. Your risk is that you buy more than you can afford, do your transfer, but within the 20 or 30 minutes that when the time is allocated, maybe the order is taken away or someone else takes it in that time frame, and now you can't sell for that price, and maybe the price goes down even. So now you can lose on the play. So there's risk that way. I didn't execute such. I could have. Plan B was, let's assume that you can buy, I have 2 units to send to sell at a higher price, and I would sell that amount. And now I would gain, say, the value of, say, 2.8 worth in Bitcoin. Or we could work out that I would buy 2.8, say, or maybe 30% more, 20% more than I would before. So if you say you sold 100 tokens, now you're buying back 130, say. And then you buy and get to the point where, okay, well, I'll send the 130 over, and then you sell the 130. You go back again, and then you buy 160 or 170. And it worked out to do that over several days in here. I was able to do many, many trades of that form, working very, very well. Now, of course, a more profitable play in here, and definitely sometime in here, would have been to unload. Even though I accumulated for free based on starting cost those tokens, I would still get better value by selling there and not holding. But risk versus reward within that kind of play. Furthermore, within technical analysis, whenever you have a key area, and I said this earlier in the video, you have something like this, it becomes a pretty good buy spot. You would normally expect better gains than this. However, it's the starting move within this chart, from what we see today, is either going to be that failed, okay, we're going to try to get things going again, and falling below here to this key level. Now you're talking about trading in here. If, of course, this level gives in, pretty much similar to the LITECOIN. It's also a statement that, okay, now that you've made this move, it's important for this key level in here to hold. And just maybe this thing is going to at least be able to accelerate and at least have a test of a move above the 18 average. Step 1 is the 18 average to flatten out. And a move like this today just helps for that to be the case. It's got to hold above current price action for a good couple days to do more towards that. And it's got to get above now this 39 number to make a move above the 18 average in itself. On the 60-minute, this thing obviously is moving. There's the decent size volume in here. And resistance has been established for the short term. Support has came back, so short-term support has been in place. So if you're ever seeing a move, you're in here, you're waiting for a pullback, well, you either got it or you didn't, because markets come back to where they came from. So I would say the lower end of where they came from would be here, with the upper end being a little bit in here. Maybe. And then, of course, 18 average of highs, if you wait for that, If you're fast enough and able to get it, that you'd have to be fast. And it's obviously still going down. Maybe it's still going to have a retracement that will thus be where a bottom would come in, and then have your situation where we've already broken past this resistance level in here, that if it can get in here and congest in this trade within this area, that a break in here, you could start to see the price action into the 40s. And I'm going to end this video, another long one. I thought this was going to be 12, 14, 15 minutes. It wasn't. But like I said at the start, if you don't have the time, you can't watch this video. And you do. So hopefully I've helped out in your trades and any type of education, and making my ideas your own. That's what, when I was watching videos from Brian Shannon on Alpha Trends, that's what he said in a lot of his videos, to make his ideas your own. And I did. I really, really did. And I think I got a nice, unique way of help within my strategy of the market. And a lot of it is an influence and help from so many different people. So I'm just grateful to be able to be one of many people to be able to help you along the way within your journey. Take care.